In this video, we'll look at two simple question types, true-false and modified true-false questions. True-false questions are the most basic questions, offering students only two choices. These questions are useful for simple identification. This is an example of a true-false question in a printed test. Here is an example of a true-false question in an online test. Let's create a true-false question. Start by clicking the New Question button. Choose True-False in the Question Type selection dialog box. Next, we can enter the text of the questions. True-false questions are written as declarative sentences. You can format the text of your questions by using the toolbar. You can also insert images, variables, equations, and symbols. When creating a new true-false question, the answer defaults to true. My question is false, so let's select false from the answer dropdown. For questions given online, you can add item-specific feedback. This is optional, but let's click the Extra tab and see how it works. For a true-false question, you can give feedback on both the correct and incorrect answers. Let's click the Edit link for the correct feedback. After you've entered the feedback, click the Update link to save it. Now, let's repeat the process to add the incorrect feedback. Finally, we'll click OK. I've written this question in a test, so we can see a preview of how it will appear on an online test. To do that, start by selecting the Test menu. Then select Preview Online Test. A student can select their answer from the drop-down or select the corresponding option button. If instructors allow students to review their answers, there will be a check button in the test window. Let's see how the feedback works. The answer to this question is false. First, let's select True and then click the check button. The dialog box contains the incorrect feedback that we wrote. Now let's click False and then click the check button. The dialog box contains the feedback that we wrote for the correct answer. You can see how easy it is to write a true-false question. Now, let's look at modified true-false questions. A modified true-false question is a statement that students must identify as either true or false. If the statement is false, students must also provide the word or phrase that makes the statement true. Here is an example of what a modified true-false question looks like online. Notice that the word rose is underlined. This is the word students need to replace if the answer is false. There's also a space to enter a replacement word. Here is how modified true-false questions appear in a printed test. Let's create our own modified true-false question. First, we'll click the New Question button. Then, we'll select Modified True-False. Next, we'll enter the text of the question. I'm going to underline the word rose because this is the word that I want students to change if the answer is false. I'll select it and click the Underline button. Unlike a true-false question, a modified true-false question has an Answer and Grading tab. You use this tab to set the correct answer and to specify the replacement word. If the answer is true, you don't have to do anything on the Answer and Grading tab because the answer defaults to true and you don't need a replacement word when the answer is true. Our question is false, so we need to make some changes on the Answer and Grading tab. First, let's change the answer to false. To make our statement true, students should change the word rows to columns. So let's type columns in the word processor window. One thing to know is that if you want to allow for alternate answers or spellings, you can put them on a separate line in the Answer and Grading tab. So, if I wanted to accept both the word columns and the word column, I could press Return and enter the word column on a new line. For this example, I'll leave it as it is and click OK. Let's preview the test and see what a modified true-false question looks like online. Let's click false. Notice that after I select false, the text entry field is enabled so I can type a replacement word. Let's check our answer. Since we didn't enter any feedback, the system just gives us a generic message. And that's how you create true-false and modified true-false questions.